besides Dwayne, you got like 5 new receivers this year. What's that been like for you? Kind of role to get everyone kind of comfortable with you?
Yes, you know what you know, I think I've said it before too. Is like the way Coach Gruden does the practices. It's awesome. You know, his offense is going to get the predominant looks that he needs, the routes he needs run, and so we've gotten a lot of time on task, a lot of time outside the building, a lot of time obviously in the building, and then these last 2 weeks, you know, when we weren't playing in the preseason games, we've been grinding, like crazy. We probably worked harder then than training camp, because we had less bodies, but we're doing the same amount of work. And so it was a great time for us to get even more timing to where now we feel, obviously we don't have the game experience, which is always different, but, there'll be minor tweaks and growing pains that we'll need to adjust and fix, hopefully with completions. But, with that said, I'm very confident with where we're at now. But now we just need to go play some live games and get it going.
Without Antonio, you've been able to make up for all your lost time, you think, during training camp?
I think so. Honestly, we spent so much time together. More than I ever have with, a receiver outside the building, to be honest. He's nonstop, even if he's on vacation and we're texting each other and, laughing about something, he'll always tell me, hey, if you need me, I'm there, and I'm, man, enjoy your family, kind of a thing. But like I said, we spent more time together, outside the building to make sure, we could be ready for the in-season stuff. So we definitely have a good relationship. We've thrown a lot of passes to each other, and we're definitely have a good chemistry.
Yeah, we didn't get to see a lot of that during training camp, but Gruden had talked a lot about what he really liked about him was everybody else's performance had to be elevated because he just practiced so hard. Has that been in evidence the last 2 weeks since the media's been kicked out?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Absolutely. One thing, like I'll go home and, my wife will ask, hey, how's so-and-so, how's so-and-so, how's AB doing? She cares what I care about, so she tries to talk about it. I'm like, man, guy had another 3 or 4 touchdowns today. He's doing pretty good. Just the explosive plays that guy can make in practice. It's, for lack of a better term, it's pretty unbelievable. And you hit it on the head. It raises everyone's level of play. If you're covering him, you better be on your game. If you're a wide receiver on the field as him at the same time, you better be running or he's going to make you look slow on film. And so he definitely raises everybody's game. He raises my game. He makes me a better player. He makes me, push and strive, to be on a different level. If that's possible, at that moment. So he does that for everybody.
What's the thought process like having a guy like that where you don't want to force it to him all the time, but you know that you want to get into him as much as possible?
Oh man, yeah, and I've done I've talked with Rich Gannon, I've talked with Kurt Warner, I've talked with my brother who played with Andre Johnson, I've talked with, I can go, the list goes on and on about people that I've talked with, quarterbacks, that have played with great receivers, those type of Hall of Fame caliber receivers, right? And every one of them to a man has said, you go through your reads and you play football. Because as soon as you try and start doing other stuff, that's where you start getting into trouble. And that was one of the major things I had to be conscious of. Like, if there's a certain game, where the targets aren't where they're supposed to be and things like that, I'm just doing what Coach told me to do. You know what I mean? Like, I can't worry about that kind of stuff. Because if I'm worried about that, I'm not keeping everyone in mind. I got to make sure that I always keep the whole picture in mind, make sure I'm going through the right read, throwing it to the right place. And Coach does a great job of making sure that he's got his fair share of plays in the offense and number one in the progression, if not number two, kind of things. So all those kind of things to where we're making sure he's getting the ball, and I just let Coach Gruden deal with that, and I just try and play quarterback.
They got a new coach. They got a new quarterback. You guys have turned over, I believe you have 17 new starters from week 1 and like 15 from week 17.
Yeah.
So is this like, does last year's games, are even worth looking at? Are these two brand new teams?
Yeah, especially with the schemes being different. If you want to watch a guy, on a pass rush, or you want to watch a guy, in man-to-man coverage or things like that, you can take a look at those kind of things and, get a feel for those guys. But they're playing a different scheme. They're being taught different techniques. They're being taught different things, and obviously they're not showing, anything in preseason. So there's as much as you can take from that, right? And same with us. We have different players that is going to allow us to play differently, and it's kind of exciting. Both teams know that both schemes are going to be very different. You can only prepare for so much, you know. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, they still have those players over there. They got Chubb, they got Vaughn, who, you know, has, I don't want to call him a friend this week, but you know, we've met quite a few times in the backfield, you know, for over the years, and we've played each other enough to where, you know, those little rivalries and competitions are still there in that brotherhood. But you know, when Chris Harris, who I've played a bunch, you know, Simmons, who I've played a bunch, Shelby Harris, who was drafted here, you know, you remember, there's some similarities, but at the end of the day, you take a look back at both teams, and it's two different teams playing you know, we're going to end up playing two different games.
What makes Miller and Chubb so good?
You know, I think they contrast each other real well. Vaughn, I say it every time, he's a walking Hall of Famer. You know, I really hope that the fans in Denver, I really hope that just NFL fans in general just enjoy watching him play. You know, we see guys now retire quick, like Luck, you know. You see, you know, forever, I grew up watching Peyton Manning. He doesn't play anymore, you know. And so, you know, those times fly by. I really hope everyone enjoys watching him, you know, because he's a walking Hall of Fame player. I mean, the guy has the, you know, franchise record in sacks. The guy continues to look like he gets faster every year. The guy, you know, literally takes the ball out of people's hands, me included. You know, he does freaky stuff, you know, on the football field, and you have to respect it. You know, you have to tip your cap and love competing against that. You know, and then with Chubb, he's obviously going into his second year. He's a power kind of rush guy. He wants to, you know, get his hands on people, and you know, like I say, they complement each other real well. It reminds me a lot of when they had, you know, Vaughn and DeMarcus. They complemented each other so well with their rush patterns and things like that. That I see a lot of similarities there with these guys.
A couple more guys. What do you expect just from a big Fangio defense, and especially with those guys now in that scheme? Like you said, how big of a challenge is this for you guys week one?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure he'll let Chris Harris cover some people and let Vaughn and Chubb rush the passer. You know, I'm sure he'll let those guys do a fair amount of that. You know, I think the world of Coach Fangio and you know, everything that he's, you know, done and done in his whole career. You know, I think he's one of the best in the whole NFL. You know, I think that he's very bright, you know, at trying to screw people's protections up and trying to give the quarterbacks different looks, even the second time they play somebody and things like that. I think he gets it, and he's one of the best in the league. That's for sure. So we have to, you know, expect everything, prepare for everything, and just be ready to, you know, let our rules eat and play football.
Derek went to the whole training camp press conferences. I don't think anybody ever asked a single question about Dallin Levitt. His name never came up unsolicited from the coaches.
Yeah.
We all put together our 53-man. I don't think anybody had him on it.
Yeah.
What did everybody miss?
You know, it's what I think it was what he did on special teams. You know, that man. Some of the plays that Coach Bisaccia would put up on the board, you know, for everyone to watch. You know, after the games, after these preseason games, I mean, he's taking on two guys, spinning off of them, making a tackle. He's taking on three guys, spinning off of them, throwing somebody and making a tackle. He's forcing people out of bounds. He's taking people out of their lanes. He's just his all-around effort and understanding of the scheme. You know, really on special teams is what really did it. And then on defense, he reminds me a lot of Eric Weddle. You know, a lot of similarities in their style of play, in their disguising coverages. I told him today, I said, I want you to disguise everything. I don't want to know what the coverage is at all, you know, when you're out there. And he does a great job of it and confuses you and tries to mess with you. And so just having a guy like that right there, that won't get press credit. That doesn't get enough credit. But him being able to do that for me and for our team, that only makes him better. It only makes our team better. You know, that's invaluable to be able to, you know, to have a guy. He's like, hey, whatever you need, Derek. I'll, you know, whatever the team needs, and he's that way 100%. It's no surprise why he made it.
Last one, guys.
We've all seen, you know, we've talked about your relationship with Coach Gruden, and we've seen how Gruden interacts with quarterbacks on the, you know, quarterback camp show. What is it like on a daily basis to be a quarterback for John Gruden?
It's really entertaining, to be honest. You know, those of you that know him, I mean, he's a ball of energy, and it literally has not changed. I've been around a lot of people that have that kind of energy but can only bring it for a couple weeks, then they have a down day. Or they can only bring it for a few months, then they have a down day. Or even a year. They'll bring it for a year, but then something goes wrong, then they lose it. He's literally the same person every single day, and you have to respect that about him. You know, and he always has something for each quarterback in the room to work on when we hit the practice field. There's always something. He's like, Derek, you got to do this. Deshaun, you got to do this. Nate, take care of yourself. You know, Mike, you got to do this today. You know, he always has something. And you have to respect him because he outworks everybody. He's the hardest working, coach I've ever seen in my life. He literally, I believe that he's seen every bit of film that has ever been out there. And he pulls up things to have us learn off of all the time that you're like, why were you watching Central Michigan in 2004? Why were but he's seen it, and he genuinely cares so much about his players. So we have so much fun, to be honest with you. And the Hard Knocks cameras weren't in our meeting room or anything like that, but I think for good reason. But they would see how much fun that we have, in our quarterback room and how hard he pushes us. We have a lot of fun.